as we start off looking at the statistics unit, we want to understand a couple of key terms that are going to go along with this. And so today we're going to take a look at sampling techniques and different types of sampling techniques. And so we're going to explore different ways to explore those, to actually collect numerical data, statistical information. So we're going to start off by taking a look at both techniques and description of what that technique actually implies. So we are going to look specifically at 6 techniques. And so you are going to have to understand kind of what these 6 techniques are and how would you apply them and in what situations, are they most appropriate. So technique number 1 that we're going to take a look at is what we call the cluster technique. Okay, and a cluster is where every single member, so every single person or every single light bulb or every single soccer ball or whatever in the entire group is randomly selected from a subgroup. So basically you take the entire group of students out of a population, you put them into different subgroups, for example, into classrooms or into sports teams or something like that. Okay, and then you sample every single member of a randomly selected subgroup. So you don't actually sample every single person in the entire population, okay, but you select and you sample every single person from one specific subgroup. Okay, so for example, one classroom. Convenience is the second one. Convenience, simply you just choose people because they're easy. You say anybody who has a red hat, they get sampled for this particular thing. Okay, and you just stand at the door and you just select every single person who has a red hat, and boom, there you go. Okay. Simple random is where each member of a group has an even chance of being selected. So you have an entire population and you choose 10 people at random. No rhyme or reason. You just randomly select 10 people to ask your questions of. Okay. Stratified random is where you divide your group, your total population, into subgroups. So again, let's say you want to divide the school and you want to sample the school. You could divide them into subgroups of homeroom classes, and then you randomly choose, 3 people from each of those subgroups to fill out your survey. You don't know why they were selected. You don't know how they were selected. It's just 3 people in every single homeroom has to do your survey. Okay. The next one is systematic. Okay, and that's where you have a list of the population is made. So you determine that every nth person, so every 5th person, or every 20th light bulb, or every 100th soccer ball to come off your production line is going to be checked for quality assurance, or it's going to conduct your survey, or something like that. Okay, and then the last one is simply voluntary response. Okay, and voluntary response is where people choose to be surveyed, and so classically, if you go to, for example, TSN's website or ctv.ca, they will often have a reader opinion poll question there. And so you can choose to do the poll, you can choose to not do the poll. Either way, it's completely voluntary. Okay, so those are the 6 sampling techniques. Okay, cluster, convenience, simple random, stratified random, systematic, and voluntary response. Okay, and they all have, pros and cons. Some are very easy, some are very meticulous, some are they try to eliminate bias, some are more convenient, some give you more information, less information. It just depends on which technique that you choose. Okay, so again, what we want to do as we're going through is we want to quickly identify, well, what does it mean for if we have a sample and a population? Okay, so for example, this diagram here, it tells us a little bit about population and sample. Okay, and so we've got a cluster of blue stars. Okay, and blue stars represent our total population. So we're interested in finding out information about every single one of these blue stars that happens to be in this orangish oval. Okay, so every single blue star is of interest. but we simply don't have time or the ability to sample or find out information about every single one of those blue stars. So instead of choosing the entire population of blue stars, we choose this sample right here. Okay, so instead of finding out information about every single one of these blue stars, we just find information about these 7 blue stars that are here. Okay, and so these 7 blue stars are designed to represent the entire population of all of the blue stars that are out there. Okay, and so that's what we mean by a sample. A sample is a small subset of the entire population. So let's quickly identify sampling methods used in each of the situations that we have below. So some potential case studies. And so this might be a good type of question to ask you on a quiz or on your unit test or even the exam. Okay, so identify sampling method used in each of these situations. So situation number 1. You have a list of all the students in a school that's made in pages. Okay, you print off a list. And one student is randomly selected from each page. Okay, and so basically what you've done is you have taken your whole population, okay, and you've broken them down into different pages, and one person from each page is going to be chosen. Okay, so it's going to be random of some kind, okay, because in the question it has the word random, okay, but is it going to be random or is it going to be stratified random? Okay, random means you just take people with no particular rhyme or reason, they've just been chosen out of your entire population. But in this case, because we have the whole population uh, is in a list and one person is chosen from each page actually represents a subset or a stratification of the entire population. So this is actually going to be a stratified random grouping. So this is actually stratified random. Okay, that's the sampling method that's being used. Okay, so for number 2, it says one student is selected at random from every class to bring completed information forms to the office. Okay, again, the word random is in here, so it's either going to be random or stratified random. Okay, and if they're chosen from every class, that means that the population is being subdivided, okay, into individual classes. So again, this is also stratified random. Question number 3 says students are given a survey in their first period class and are asked to submit their answers to the SAC office. Okay, so no one is forcing them. People can choose to answer the survey or not. They have to choose to drop it off at the SAC office or not. Okay, and so in this particular instance, this is actually an example of a voluntary survey, okay, or voluntary sampling technique. Question number 4 says the police hold a ride program at one intersection in a city and stop every vehicle that passes through. Okay, so if they're passing every single vehicle, that's actually an example of a cluster. Okay, so they are choosing. They're interested in figuring out information about all drivers that are out there, but they're only focused on one particular intersection. Okay, so they've narrowed their focus down to one intersection, but they're choosing every single person. So that actually represents a cluster sampling technique. Okay, because in a cluster sampling technique, you choose every single person or every single occurrence in a particular subgroup. Okay, and in this case, the intersection represents the subgroup. Question number 5 says every 10,000th light bulb from an assembly line is tested. Okay, and so there's a plan. Okay, every single 10,000th light bulb is going to be tested. So this is actually systematic. Okay, so that is a systematic sampling technique. If we look at number 6, it says that while I do my cafeteria supervision on Friday at lunch, I pose the same question to students as they left the cafeteria, and I recorded their answers. Okay, and so in this particular instance, I don't know who the students are going to be in the cafeteria. They could be from grade 9, grade 10, 11, 12. They could be mostly males. They could be mostly females. They could be people who are interested in music or whatever. It doesn't particularly matter to me. I'm just set up at the doors asking the same question. Okay, and so this is actually a situation of convenience. Okay, so this is a convenience situation. Number 7 says a list of residents in the Preston community is printed. The occupants of every 5th house on the list are then interviewed. Okay, so again, if I'm interviewing every 5th person, okay, or I've subdivided every smaller group out of that, okay, then that represents a systematic approach. Okay, and so this is a systematic piece. Okay, if I scroll down a little further, question number 8 says all occupants at Preston are assigned a number. Or, oh, sorry, all students at Preston High School, for example, are assigned a number. A program like the random number generator on a calculator is used to select 50 students at random. Okay, the students were then assigned these numbers and are then interviewed. Okay, well, in this instance, I'm letting a computer choose 50 people. Okay, and so in this case, I have no control over it whatsoever. And I have no idea how the computer is picking these 50 individuals. So this is actually an example of simple random. So that's a simple random technique. Okay, and then finally, an adult population is divided into age groups, 18 to 28, 28 to 38, etc. And it's determined that 12% of the population is between 48 and 58. So of the 300 people that are surveyed, 36 of them are going to be randomly selected. Okay, and so if I'm randomly selecting 36 of them, that means that I've already stratified the groups. Okay, I've subdivided the groups into smaller pieces, into 10-year age blocks. Okay, but if I'm randomly selecting them, okay, then this is going to mean that it is stratified random. Okay, so I've created age blocks, so I've stratified them, and if I'm randomly selecting people from the age groups, okay, then that is stratified random. Okay. Number 10 there says you survey the people that you're chatting with online. Okay, and again, you don't necessarily know who those people are, but you know it's convenient, so that's actually a matter of convenience. So this is a convenience sampling technique. Okay, number 11 says a magazine asks readers to complete an online survey. Okay, again, no one's making them complete this online survey, and it's totally up to the individual's choice whether they complete it accurately or not. So this is actually voluntary. Okay, pretty much all online surveys are voluntary. Number 12 then says all the students in a homeroom with the letters A, D, and H, okay, are surveyed and their answers are recorded. Okay, so if we already subdivided it into subsections, okay, and every single person in a subsection has to complete the survey, that's actually an example of a cluster. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of different sampling techniques that are possible.